1.
I am James Ivan C. Francisco.
I am John Patrick A.
I am Claire M. Delphine.
Hi, I'm Chardel Ibanez.
I am Rana Marisa Kilan.
I am Rachel Ann Bruno.
Good day. Today we will go on to discuss these 5 constitutional provisions as subject for amendments because we believe that these provisions are no longer serve the political and social and government challenges faced by the Philippines. Over time, weaknesses and these provisions have contributed to ineffective leadership, poor public accountability, and unequal access to opportunities in government service. If these provisions remain unamended, unchanged, the country may continuously experience poor governance, limited political participation, and policies that fail to respond to the needs of the people. However, amending these provisions can strengthen leadership qualifications, promote fairness and inclusivity, and ensure that government officials are better prepared to serve the nation.
The first provisions, the Article 7, Section 2. No person may be elected president unless he is natural born citizen of the Philippines, a registered voters, able to read and write, at least 40 years age of the day of the election, and a resident of the Philippines for at least 10 years immediately preceding the elections. The previous provisions need amendment because many elected officials, especially the president, lack of efficient knowledge of their duties and obligations. As government leaders, as a result, some have governed poorly and demonstrate neglected towards the welfare of the people. The minimal requirements of being able to read and write does not guarantee that a candidate possesses adequate educational background or understanding of governance, leaderships, and public responsibilities. The amendment provision, this is the amendment provisions. Article 7, Section 2, no person may be elected president unless he is natural born citizens of the Philippines, a registered voters, a high school graduates under the K-12 program, at least 35 years age of the election, and a resident of the Philippines for at least 10 years immediately preceding the elections. This amendment is necessary because elected president should possess at least a high school graduate education to ensure basic understanding of politics, governance, and civic responsibility. High school education includes subjects related to government, history, and social issues, which help prepare individuals for leadership roles. Replacing the requirements of being merely able to read and write with being a high school graduate ensures a higher level of competence and critical thinking. Additionally, lowering the age at least 40 years old to 35 years old allows capable to knowledgeable individuals who are already aware of being political rights and responsibilities to run for president, giving deserving younger generation leaders the opportunity to serve the nation.
Number 1 is our second provision. Article 6, Section 2. No person shall be a senator unless he is a natural born citizen of the Philippines. And on the day of the election, he is at least 35 years ago, able to read unwritten and registered voters, and a resident of the Philippines for not less 2 years, immediately preceding the day of the elections. So the provision needs amendment because of the qualification of being morally able to read unwritten is insurficate for a position as important as a senator. are member of the legislative branch, whose primary duty is to create, amend, and review laws that depict directly affect the nation. Without a strong education background, some legislator may lack the necessary knowledge of lawmaking, public policy, and political system, which can result in ineffectibility of poorly created registration.
So the amendment of Article 6, Section 3 is no person shall be a senator unless he is a natural born citizen of the Philippines and on the day of the election is at least 30 years of age, a college degree holder in any field that related to politics, law, and governance, a registered voter and a resident of the Philippines for not less than 2 years immediately preceding the day of the election. So, we need this amended to ensure that senator possess adequate academic training relevant to legislation, governance, and public service. A college degree related to politics or governance equips candidate with essential knowledge in lawmaking, constitutional principle, and policy analysis, replacing the requirement of being able to read and write with a relevant college degree raises the standard of competence among legislators. Moreover, lowering the age requirements from 35 to 30 allow capable and qualified individuals who already demonstrate maturity, leadership, and political awareness to participate in the legislative process and contribute meaningfully to national development.
In addition from that, we believe that this provision is needed an amendment because the qualification of being merely able to read and write is inefficient for a position as important as a senator, since we all know that the senators are members of the legislative branch who are primary duty is to create, amend, and review laws that directly affect the nations. So, if wala sila educational background or necessary knowledge about lawmaking, public policy, and public system, makaresult ni siya og ineffective or poorly crafted na mga legislation or mga law. That's why this amendment is necessary to ensure that the senator possess adequate academic training relevant to legislation, governance, and public service, since this issue is very rampant nowadays, especially sa mga senators nga mga nanagan, mga kandidato nanagan nya ilahang dili jud unta sila pasar as a public official sa lawmaking body, since daghang mga senator kay mga artista lang unya nanagan sila unya madaog sila kay ang mga tao kay syempre mabuto man na ang mga tao kay kailaman sila unya sikat man ang isa ka kandidato without really looking sa qualification kung standard ba or pasar ba jud sila as a legislative member sa ato ang country. And dili naman nato na ma-change ang perspective sa taos maong amuan ning gi-amend na provision, changing the enable to read and write into a college degree holder in any field related to politics, law, and governance. That's why this is an important amendment. And also, lowering the age requirement from 35 to 30 allows capable and qualified individuals who already demonstrated maturity, leadership, and political awareness to participate in the legislative process and contribute meaningfully to the national development. And amo ning gipatukod kay kabalo man ta nga daghan na og mga young generation karon nga pasok sila og capable sila nga mugunit sa ato ang legislative body since mas naa sila sapat nga knowledge or necessary knowledge about lawmaking process instead nga mag stay lang ta ani nga 35 years old unya dili di ay sila capable. And with all this amendment on the specific crisis, and we believe that we can contribute to the national development of our country.
Next, revision. Article 6, Section 6. No person shall be a member of the House of the Representative unless he is natural-born citizen of the Philippines and on the day of the election is at least 25 years of age, able to read and write, except the party list representative, a registered voter in the district in which he shall be elected, and a resident thereof for a period not less than 1 year immediately preceding the day of the election. The previous provision needs amendment because the requirement of being merely able to read and write is insufficient for legislature who are responsible for the drafting and reviewing laws. Member of the House of Representatives possess adequate knowledge of governance, public policy, and legislative processes to perform the duties efficiently. A minimal literary requirement does not ensure the competence needed and meaningful lawmaking. House of Representatives dapat na sila knowledge about sa policy governments, public policy, and legislative process. Na
That's why we amend this provision into Article 6, Section 6. No person shall be a member of House of Representatives unless he is natural-born citizen of the Philippines and on the day of the election is at least 25 years of age, a college degree holder in a field related to politics, law, governance, and except the party list representative, a registered voter in the district of which he shall be elected, and a resident therefore of a period of not less than 1 year, immediately preceding the day of the election. So, this amendment is necessary to ensure that members of House of Representatives have sufficient academic preparation relevant to legislation and public service. Parehas sa senator, kinahanglan na sila enough knowledge or knowledgeable sila anak nga field since sila man kay kauban sila sa bicameral charter sa legislative body na mao ang nagahimo og mga laws, mao sila ang naga-review sa laws na ipatukod sa ato ang bansa. So replacing the able to read and write requirement with a related college degree raises the standard of competence and promotes informed decision making in law making body. So only the specific phrase lang sa provision ng among gi-change ang able to read and write requirement into college degree holder since able to read and write is not enough for a legislative member, since sila man jud ang nag-create sa atong laws na igay na implement sa ato ang country. So this change strengthens the quality of representation without altering age, residency, or voter qualifications. The next provision is the Article 2, Section 26. The state shall guarantee equal access to opportunities for public service and prohibit political dynasties as may be defined by the law. So, this provision needed amendment because it was vague and unenforceable. By leaving the definition of political dynasties to Congress, so wala gina-specify kung unsa lang ang cover sa political dynasty, unsa lang ang political dynasty na gina-cover aning nga provision. So, also, no enabling law was passed, allowing dynasties to continue dominating public office. For example, Marcos regime nag-dominate na po sila sa public office sa Pilipinas since vague man ag unenforceable ang kaninga provision, and dili lang na daghan gyapon sa Pilipinas ang mga political dynasties na nagahold of power sa ilahang matag iya nga lugar. So this weakened equal access to public service and undermined democracy, making a clear constitutional definition necessary. That's why we amend a provision into Article 2, Section 26. The state shall guarantee equal access to opportunities for public service and prohibit political dynasties. A political dynasty exists when two or more relatives within the second degree, by blood or marriage, run for or hold elective public office at the same time, or one another in the same national or local government unit as provided by the law. So this amendment is needed to clearly define political dynasties. So that's why we add some specific phrase about unsa lang ang gina-cover ani nga provision. So which the original provision failed to do, because the Constitutional left the definition to Congress and no law was passed, allowing political families to keep holding power. By clearly stating who is covered, the amendment makes the rule enforceable, promotes equal opportunities and public service, and strengthens democracy by preventing the concentration of power in the few families.
And now let's proceed to the last provision. Article 7, Section 4, Paragraph 1. The President and Vice President shall be elected by direct vote of the people for a term of 6 years, which shall begin at noon of the 30th day of June next following the day of the election, and shall end at noon of same date, 6 years thereafter. The President shall not be eligible for any election. No person who has succeeded as President and has served as such for more than 4 years shall be qualified for election to the same office at any time. The negative effects lies on the President's 6-year term with no re-election. Why? Because this meant that once the President was elected and a position, knowing they had 6 years to fulfill their duties and responsibilities, they will face no immediate concern. Meaning, dili sila magdali-dali o kanang conduct o sistema nila. Electoral pressure to perform well in the latter of their term, leading to a lame duck phase where decision-making slowed and declined public needs and complaints. Moreover, if the President was found incompetent and the position unaccountable or corrupt during the 6-year term, the country, the people had no choice but to endure their leadership for the full 6 years, as there was no chance to replace them through an election. This prolonged exposure to unfit leadership eroded public trust in the government, hindered the progress of the nation, and undermined the democratic principle of holding leaders accountable for the people. And the next is the amended provisions, stating that Article 7, Section 4, Paragraph 1, the President and the Vice President shall be elected by direct vote of the people for a term of 4 years, which will begin at noon of the 30th of June, the next following the day of the election, and shall end at noon of the same time and date. 4 years thereafter, the President shall be eligible for one re-election. No person who has succeeded as President and has served as such more than 3 years shall be qualified for election to same office at any time. This amendment was really necessary. It was really necessary to amend the previous provision in order to address the accountability crisis and the original provision. By shortening the term of the President to 4 years and inaalaw ang re-election, total of 2 consecutive terms, the people will gain an opportunity to judge the performance of the President and vote them out if they are incompetent, unaccountable, and especially if they are corrupt, instead of waiting 6 years. This amendment will ensure the accountability of the President, prioritizing the needs of the people, eliminating the lame duck effect. Overall, this amendment will give power to the people to choose and control who leads the country. And this is also strengthen the democracy by balancing stability and accountability.
To conclude, during our study, we find weaknesses in 5 Philippine constitutional provisions that has been enacted and have contributed to ineffective governance, limited political participation, and unequal access to public service. Key findings reveal that the minimal literacy requirements for national leaders have compromised competence. Vague language on political dynasties has allowed power concentration, and the 6 years presidential term with no re-election has reduced accountability. The proposed amendments that we did as a group addresses these issues by raising educational qualification to high school for the president and relevant college degree for senators and members of the House, and clearly defining political dynasties to make the prohibition enforceable, and shortening the presidential term to 4 years with no re-election to enhance accountability and eliminate the lame duck phase that lower the decision making of the president and make him incompetent for the position. These changes aim to strengthen leadership competence, promote fairness in public service, and reinforce democratic principles that to better respond to the country's current challenges.